In the past 5 years, I've helped over 15 organizations to mobilize resources of up to $30 million. And most of these organizations are based in Africa. I think 3 are based in Asia, 2 in Europe, and I think 1 in America. My name is Peter Yakobe. I'm a development economist. I work with developing countries, helping them to put up systems and structures that help them to get further more funding for their developmental projects. I also work with those countries that are having issues with balance of payments, and they are trying to seek funding and support from the International Monetary Fund. So I help them to put up the necessary policies and structures so that they can obtain the extended credit facility from the IMF. So when I was in Malawi about 8-9 years ago, I was running an organization that ended up losing funding in the process. I also worked for a resource mobilization department for a government organization that did not produce the intended or the desired results. In my career as well, I have worked for with different organizations. I've consulted for various organizations in Malawi, in Africa, and even in Europe, and I've helped them to create systems that have helped them to raise more funding, over $10 million, $5 million. So I realized that most of the organizations in Africa and developing countries, they fail to raise developmental funding because they miss on basic issues and principles. So in the first chapter of the book, I've defined resources, and I've expounded on different types of resources that organizations need for them to survive and prosper. The reason I did it is because if you for most people, especially in developing countries, whenever they hear the term resource, what comes to their mind is money. One thing they forget is that there are different types of resources that if an organization or a project can put their focus on, they can be successful. For example, in the book, I've talked about human resource. I personally believe, and from my experience, that people are the greatest resource any organization must have. You can have a lot of money, you can have lots of funding, you can have excellent systems, but if you don't have people who are committed to the cause, if you don't have people who have the capacity to run the programs that you are trying to run, your organization is not going to move forward. A real resource mobilization is a process, and it involves quite a number of stuff. Like I've talked about making a needs assessment. You identify what are the challenges that are here, and with the current donor priorities, if your goal is to mobilize resources through donor funding, then you come up with what I've called in the book a resource mobilization strategy, which is a guide like that helps you to that guides you on what is it that you're going to do, because different countries or different areas requires different systems or strategies of mobilizing resources. Some of them are country specific because of different demographics or different trends and the issues like culture or gender, etc. I've also talked about conducting like SWOT analysis, PESTO analysis, to understand your institution or your organization before you go out to start mobilizing resources. Because if you don't understand yourself, if you don't understand the environment that you're operating in, you cannot mobilize resources. So, for example, if you were planning to mobilize $2 million or $10 million in the next 2 years, that means you need to start working on it right now. I've noted that lack of accountability and transparency is the biggest reason most organizations lose funding or they fail to get support. For example, you cannot have an organization that has been existing for 5 years without audit reports. You wonder, what is it that you're hiding? That alone questions the integrity of the organization. Even some organizations, they don't even disclose how much money they are receiving or how much money is going to different allocations in their budgets. So things like in that chapter, I've talked about things like accountability and transparency as core issues that every organization must put in systems in place to make sure that they are accountable. They are not only accountable, not only to the donors who are giving them money, but they're also accountable to the people they are working with. And this accountability comes in terms of performance of the organization. Just like any other process, resource mobilization has its own challenges. For example, you might be trying to mobilize resources to support education of chaos, and then you just hear that donors have changed priorities. Okay, and sometimes challenges like pandemics. Recently, we had COVID-19, and it changed everything. It changed the world works. It changed the world organizations operate and everything else. So what I'm trying to communicate in this chapter is that it is very important for an organization to strategically position themselves in anticipation for such challenges, so that whenever they have come, they should be able to navigate through them and easily find solutions that can help them to survive and move forward even amidst such challenges. But what I was trying to communicate is that challenges are there. Sometimes even the political environment changes. In Malawi, they're having elections. I think next year. It's possible the government can change and the new government can come in, depending on the policies that the government is going to set forth. It can provide a conducive environment for organizations to thrive or not. I've always said that the world has more opportunities now. There are a lot of organizations, there are a lot of funders that are coming up to fund different projects, programs, including entrepreneurship ventures. However, it is important to identify the priorities of such organizations and institutions, because most of them, when they are coming to announce or send out a call for proposals or call for ideas or whatever, they have their own priorities too. They have things that they are trying to achieve. They have areas that they're trying to achieve within a specific country. So it is important for an entrepreneur or a project manager to understand what are the priorities of those people, so that we can take advantage of those priorities to see how best can we align ourselves, what we're trying to do with them, so that we can meet on the middle. They bring their money, we bring our ideas, and then we implement a project or program that benefits both of us, the donors, ourselves, and even the community. Mostly, a fellowship is a program that combines an academic aspect and a professional development aspect. So mostly, if you have been selected for a fellowship, they will bring you to a university, and then they will, depending on the goals or the what that fellowship focuses on, they will give you an academic training for that area. For example, if you're a journalist, you go through media training program, academic program for 6 weeks or 2 months, depending on the duration of the fellowship program. And then it also combines with a professional development, whether I'll go back to journalism. If you're a journalist, they'll take you to media houses, television houses, newspapers or radio stations, so that you can appreciate the hands-on experience of what they have taught you in the classroom during the academic training. So in the process of that, during that academic training and the professional development exercise, they give you an opportunity to network with different people, with different organizations, with CEOs or programs managers or people who are like you. And then if you are very smart and very sharp, you strategically position yourself and align yourself with those people so that you can, when you go back to your own country, you can either collaborate or, depending on the goals or what they do, they can even come in and provide support to whatever you are doing. And then as a result, it can boost what you are doing at home. So in the 6th chapter, I've talked about mobilization of resources for businesses or profit-centric institutions. I think it's because I've noted from my experience in especially developing countries, I've noted that most people, they only think that if you are running a company or a business, you are the one who should come up with the capital. Okay. Yes, if it is your business or if it is your institution or entity, you are solely responsible for that. So all I was trying to communicate is that even entrepreneurs or companies, they can seek funding because there are a lot of programs that provide support for entrepreneurs. There are grants, we have angel investors, we have venture capitalists. They are all platforms where companies, they can come and receive money. You don't necessarily have to raise your capital by selling your chickens, or you don't necessarily have to raise your capital by selling your belonging or by obtaining a loan from the bank. However, such investments, for you to access such investments, you need to do research. You need to research. You need to find out what are the priorities what are their current priorities, and see if their priorities are in line with your goals as an entrepreneur or as a company owner. We have an organization or a social enterprise kind of known as the the Baobab Network. It's based in Nairobi. They provide funding and support to companies that are in agriculture and that are running projects to do with climate change. If your company is doing any of those projects, you become eligible to receive funding from institutions like the Baobab Network. It's not a lot of funding, about $80,000, $100,000, but it's still something that can help you to scale up on what you're doing. In the book, I've mentioned I think over 100 donors from different parts of the world that are providing funding for different projects. But in this new year, in 2024, I would like to draw people's attention to 3 donors. There is DRK Foundation. They're American-based. They give funding to both projects, non-profit projects, and companies as well. So even if you're an entrepreneur, you can get funding or support from the DRK Foundation, minimum $500,000. So you can use the funding to grow your initiative, or even if you are a startup, as long as you have got proper documentation. You have got proper documentation, you have got all the papers, and also you have got your vision laid down plain on paper. Because some people, they just have an idea, but they struggle to put it down on paper so that someone can come in and appreciate. So if you have got all the papers, the proper business plan, you have got a proper vision laid out and the documentation, and you have convinced them that their priorities are in line with the objectives and goals of your project or company, they can come in and give you support. Another organization is John Templeton Foundation. They provide funding and support with from minimum $500,000 as well, but they fund research initiatives. So whether your institution is doing research in health or education or markets, they can come in and support, even if you are a company or if you are an entrepreneur and your business or company has a research component. John Templeton Foundation can come in and support your business idea with minimum $500,000. Another donor that I would like you to pay attention to is Internet Society Foundation. They also provide funding with a minimum of $500,000, but they provide support to those organizations or companies that have an aspect of technology, or maybe helping people to make a proper use of the internet or the network internet platform that are available. In the past 5 years, I've helped over 15 organizations to mobilize resources of up to $30 million, and most of these organizations are based in Africa. I think 3 are based in Asia, 2 in Europe, and I think 1 in America. But the rest have been based in sub-Saharan Africa. Because of the nature of my work, I also, as I said earlier, I help countries. I work with governments to, especially from the least developed countries, to put up systems that helps them to be fundable, and also to be able to attract resources from different international organizations. So in the past 5 years, I've worked with a number of governments, but specifically I've worked with about 5 governments. I was part of the team that worked with Zambia to help them to get the extended credit facility from the International Monetary Fund. I think they get of over $500 million. I was also part of the team that worked with Ivory Coast to get the extended credit facility from the IMF. I think it was also over $700 million. I was also part of the team that helped Namibia to renew their funding from the World Bank that specifically supports climate change projects in Namibia. I think it's Nelson Mandela who once said that education brings 2 people together regardless of their socioeconomic status. If someone is from a poor background and another one is from a rich background, if they have all attend the same education, regardless of where they're coming from, they are all at the same level. Okay, they can compete for the same business opportunities. They can compete for the same jobs that are available in the market. So, in agreement with Nelson Mandela, yes, education can take, and it takes people out of poverty. And apart from education is the mindset change. As long as people will continue thinking that some things are impossible, they will never achieve such things. As long as they are living in an environment in which they were born, they've lived in that environment for all of their lives, and they don't think of anything else outside their environment, their thinking capacity becomes limited. Unfortunately or fortunately, the change or transformation of mindset comes as a result of things like exposure. Okay, so for you to get the necessary exposure, you need to travel. You need to experience what other people in developing countries have experienced. But when you go to such developed countries, you realize how precious and important time is. So I believe that education and mindset change. These two things are very critical to helping people to rise out of poverty.